It's okay, I got it, no problem, man. Because I know my timing, so. So if you can kind of sort of make it out over there, this is how to survive your first convention. I am Victor
Frost.
Something.
Frost.
My name is Victor Frost. I am I'm a long-time panelist. I've been doing panels in you know what? Here we go. Just a quick show of hands here. How many of you are actually here for your very first convention ever? Oh, fantastic! I've hit my target demographic. This is great. What we're going to be covering today is a whole bunch of tips and tricks that I've acquired over the years, as well as knowledge that I've gotten from fellow panelists, friends who have been going to conventions a long time. And I will do my very best to impart that knowledge unto you. So I guess the very first question you're probably asking is, well, why should we listen to this guy? Well, I've been to a lot of different conventions. I've been to NAB, National Association of Broadcasters, Penny Arcade Expo, Anime Los Angeles, MakomiCon when it was still around, Anime Expo, of course, Equestria LA, the LA Auto Show, which is my personal favorite, plus a ton of other weird science symposiums that, honestly, if I had room in my brain to remember their names, I would have a master's degree in, like, biochemistry or something. So here's what you're going to learn. You're going to learn convention survival basics. The basics of cosplaying and dealing with cosplayers. Convention etiquette, how to deal with emergencies, and some various tips and tricks, and maybe at the end we'll do a little Q&A. So why do you even need this? Well, there are a big problem with conventions. Conventions are cesspools. I mean, it is hot, it is humid, there are lots of human bodies around, and some people are traveling over to here. So what this all sort of adds up to is a veritable smorgasbord of bacteria and viruses to sort of spread upon this little anime petri dish that we're sort of making up over here. Also, sometimes people just forget how to be basic human beings. Yes, sir, please do not slam the door in that person's face. It's probably gonna hurt. No, don't push that person out of the way. They might land into a booth or fall off the escalator. These are some basic human being things that we just sort of need to remember.
Yeah, we're not anime.
So, what's that say? Here we go. So, all of these tips just sort of make all of our lives easier for each other. If we can remember these basic bits of courteousness, we can sort of get by and, make this experience really good for all of us. So let's start with the basics. Read the code of conduct for the convention. You know what? There's a lot more behind the scenes here on these notes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just sort of turn it like this, so that way I have a little bit of my script. This is how a lot of panelists do it. We have scripts here, and I'm just going to try and... Yeah, no, this isn't going to work so hot, is it? Alright, so we'll just sort of... Yeah, no. Okay, I tell you what, I will tilt the laptop at points which seems appropriate to which to show you a visual gag. I love visual gags, and the fact that I cannot use visual gags today breaks my heart, but I'm going to try to do it then. So, reading and following the code of conduct for the convention is probably the best way to keep you from running afoul of convention staff, like these lovely folks over here. They are volunteering their time to help make this experience enjoyable to everyone, and to try and make it as pleasant for you guys as possible. However, when I say you, I do not mean you specifically. I mean you as in convention goers, people who are coming here to enjoy their time. No one person's happiness at this convention outweighs the happiness of a group as a whole. So if you start acting in such a way that you begin degrading the quality and the enjoyability of the convention for others, you're going to have a bad time. You and the convention staff will start having problems. Now, being a panelist, I have had the experience of being able to listen to the convention staff radio when hanging out in con-ops or things like that. And let me explain to you something about convention staff. Once they put on those earpieces or get those walkie-talkies, they are no longer a bunch of individuals. They are one cohesive group. They are like a hive mind. If one of them sees the guy wearing the one-piece outfit, running around with the flag, acting basically a fool, just that one person won't know about it, everyone will know about it. So they'll be keeping an eye on you. But if you are basically being a good person and following most of the rules, you're not going to have a problem with them. However, if you do, you may be asked to take a nice friendly little walk over to ConOps if you cause too much trouble, where they may or may not take away your badge and ask you to never come back. Hands up if you've heard of Manfay. Yeah, there's a reason why most of you have your hands down. This is no exaggeration, for real. What we need to do here is, here we are. Okay. This is how it works. So, the first thing you need to know is here we go, set the laptop up. The 6-2-1 rule. That is one of the basic things. I feel like here we go. Yeah. So the next thing you need to know is the 6-2-1 rule. It's one of the basic tips of being basically happy at a convention here. What you need is at least 6 hours of sleep per night, 2 meals a day, and 1 shower a day. And by meals, I mean real meals. I don't mean just snacking on a little bag of trail mix you got out of a vending machine somewhere. I mean, sit down, have a sandwich, a bag of chips, some Coca-Cola, something to fuel your body with the energy you need. I cannot tell you how many times I have seen first-time convention goers passed out in the hallways because they were just going at full speed the entire first 4 hours they were at the convention and then just passed out because they forgot to keep their body fueled up. And 1 shower a day, that really just goes towards basic hygiene. That whole cesspool thing, I mean, there's a term for the smell you smell occasionally when you're standing in a line for an event. It's called otaku funk. One year, a friend of mine and I were at Kineticon, and he decided he was going to just hand out bars of soap. Yeah, you don't want to be on the receiving end of that, but at the same point, you do understand why that would be a thing that might need to be done. 1 shower a day should keep you relatively funk-free. There we go. For snacks during your meals, what you want is something healthy for you. Perhaps some fruit, some trail mix, some cereal. Always keep some snacks with you so you can kind of munch along when you can't get to a place to eat real food. Like say you're standing in line for the Kill la Kill thing going on at the convention this year. Yeah? So you're standing in line for that and you get the pangs of hunger. You want to be able to toss something down the hatch to sort of top off a little bit. Hydration is also very important. You should definitely drink about 2 to 3 liters of fluids per day. Juices and waters are preferred. However, contrary to myth, coffee will actually hydrate you to a degree, so will soda. Though I do have to warn you about coffee, it is a natural diuretic. So you do want to stay hydrated, but keep in mind what it is you're drinking. Also, juices can give you some of those vitamins you'll be needing too. Drink when you're thirsty, but also drink regularly. You know, don't just, if you're not feeling thirsty, you can actually not feel thirsty just from pure excitement. So if you are really excited, just remember, hey, drink a little bit every now and again. Those bottles up there, they have those little line markers on them. Each one of them denotes like a 2-hour span. That's about as much water as you should drink every 2 hours, the space between the 2 lines in there. So drink regularly. Because dehydration headaches suck. I don't know, does anybody here know how a dehydration headache actually works? Okay, so for those of you who don't, it's basically once you get dehydrated to a certain point, it ends up being the case where your body starts actually drawing water out of your head. And so that is your brain sort of misfiring and saying, hey, put some water in me. So that, you just want to make sure you're constantly hydrated. Here we go. Ta-da. Right. So, footwear. You would think it is an obvious thing. But footwear, I've seen lots of people walking around barefoot. Now for cosplayers, Believe me, I understand your plight. If your character actually just walks around barefoot because he lives in Meiji era Japan or something. But footwear is common sense. We are out in public. It's not just a sanitary thing, athlete's foot, whatever. There could say somebody was walking down the hall and they dropped their bottle of energy drink and the glass shatters. Now they may endeavor to pick up all the pieces, but if they don't, next thing you know, somebody who's walking barefoot is going to be trailing blood as they're going along. So we don't want that. That's a biohazard. It requires its own special kind of cleanup, and it's a pain in the butt to do it. When you're picking your footwear, long-term comfort should be your optimal goal. Broken-in shoes are the best. I work a day job. I wear these sort of black semi-dress shoes. These are the ones I'm most comfortable in. My sneakers are the most painful thing in the world for me to wear because I'll be honest, I don't hit the exercising all too much. And I imagine that may be something common among my demographic, unfortunately. So essential carry-ons. Obviously, when you're bringing stuff to the convention, you want your 621 provisions. You want your convention center map, which I'll be honest, this year's map is pretty damn awesome. It's like this whole full spread thing as opposed to like a page in the guidebook. This is great. This is fantastic. You can actually read the individual booth numbers in the exhibition hall. You want your convention guidebook, of course. In there is a listing of all the panels you have, which, if you're here, you already kind of know about that one. And you want your cell phone charger plus additional batteries if you have a smartphone like me that just sort of eats up an entire battery every 5 to 6 hours. Also, some gum. If you're eating your 621 provisions most of the day, your breath may not exactly be, shall we say, minty fresh. So you may want to get some gum in there and enjoy the lovely, tasty tanginess or mintiness or whatever your particular flavor is. And a comfortable bag. Now I'm going to come over here, I'm going to sort of off the stage. I'm going to show you my bag. See, I don't need to carry my bag. I have this wonderful little wheelie bag here. This is the most comfortable bag in the world for me. Because, and this is the wonderful thing, it's a grandma bag. And the wonderful thing about a grandma bag is that not only do they have a tremendous amount of capacity in it, it also has a cooler, and this is the feature that sort of sells it the most. Olé! It's got a chair. So if you are waiting in that kill line, fear not. Your footsies need not fear.
How much is that?
I have no idea. I got it from my grandma. But it's definitely, I go to a lot of conventions during the year. I go to at least 3 different conventions, doing at least 4 hours of programming every time I go to a convention. So no matter how much it costs, even if it was like $200, it would be a worthwhile investment for me. Obviously, you may not need a chair or a cooler on your bag, so maybe a rolling backpack or something. But there's a bit of etiquette when it comes to rolling bags. You want to know where that bag is at all times. Not just that you're holding it, but where the wheels are. You don't want to run over people's feet. You don't want to hit people in the ankles, any of that stuff. Just sort of keep in mind where it is. Scrolling right along. Optional carry-ons. Wonderful things to have here if you are a dedicated convention goer. You want a power strip. Now, if you are going to a convention, and I'm sure some of you who have been here before may have encountered this, where you needed to charge up your cell phone. Very conscious of you keeping an eye on your phone's charge level. You may find that there is, in fact, not an outlet for every single person here at the convention. So a power strip is a very wonderful thing to have to sort of plug into the outlet. Now remember what I said about people passing out into the hallways? That's what you need the extension cord for, because 9 times out of 10 a person is passed out in front of an outlet. So, and if they have otaku funk, you're going to want that extra distance too. You want a small notepad and pen? Oh, that's the gum. Here's the small notepad. I keep one of these little itty-bitty moleskin notebooks with me at all times. It's really good. It's got lined pages, and the pages easily tear out. So oftentimes, I literally keep it with me all the time, not just at conventions. Oftentimes I'm watching TV, I'm watching NHK World, and they say something interesting like, if you're in Hokkaido, you should check out this wonderful hot spring here where they serve onigiri or something like that while you bathe. And I thought, oh, that's cool, I'm going to write that down. That's a good, that'd be fun to do, eat onigiri in a hot spring if I ever go to Japan. You want a dedicated camera too. I mean, you'll see lots of really cool cosplays out there that really go, wow, that's amazing, I have to remember that. So when you take out your cell phone and then you go and you look at it later and like, oh, the autofocus was kind of, not so good, and the lighting was terrible, and there's so much noise in it, this does not do justice. A point and shoot will do well, but this is also kind of a good camera. You want a camera that's dedicated for the job, does nothing else but take pictures and video. You may want to bring your Nintendo DS or PSP, 3DS. You may want to take your 3DS or your PS Vita. Because when you're walking around, if you got a 3DS, you can be collecting a ton of street passes. How many of you here traveled to get here? Like a long distance, like 3-hour drive at least. How's that? Yeah, okay. Even if you live in even if you live 10 feet from cows in the middle of farm country, if you come to a convention, you will pick up all the street passes that you missed. You'll be able to get in all those cool items and stuff that you wanted to get. I'm told. I have a DS Lite. Recommended leave-at homes. This is, of course, unless you're a panelist. You want to leave at home your laptop. You are going to a convention, an anime convention in this case. You do not need your laptop. There is an entire convention center dedicated to your entertainment and taking the money out of your pocket. So there's bound to be something you can find to keep you occupied. Ditto with your MP3 player or, for many of your cases, plugging in your headphones in your iPhone or whatever. There's so much going on around you. You may be obliviously just sort of standing in a corner and you just totally missed the conga line down the hallway there are conga lines that go down these hallways, right guys?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay. You don't want to miss those are kind of awesome. Also, anything you are afraid to lose. Now, I am a professional. Most of my gear is insured, so I'm not terribly afraid of losing it. But I still don't want to lose this stuff. And neither should you. You don't want to lose your cell phones, your iPods, if you're not big into cosplay, hell, leave the camera at home too. So, anything you're afraid to lose. Now let's get into the basics of cosplay. Yeah. Anybody in this room recognize who that is? Yes! That's me. You gotta be careful when it comes to the usage of copyrighted works and stuff, so I always like to use my own pictures if I can. This one's a bit speechy, so I actually do have quite a bit of notes here to sort of draw off of. Okay, so now cosplay is one of the fine arts of any fandom. It takes dedication and planning and hard work to cosplay. It is, I believe, the ultimate homage to a character because you are literally becoming that person. This section covers some things you should keep in mind regarding cosplay, and it's divided into two main segments. One for cosplayers and one for everyone else. But before I get to those, I'm going to take this opportunity to hopefully stamp out some of the many prevailing stupidities regarding cosplay and instead fill your heads with ideas that are more in tune with those of a rational human being. Number one, the color of your skin does not matter. Nor, for that matter, does your ethnicity. Cosplay is about expressing your passion about the character you are dressing as. If ethnicity mattered, 90% of us would not be able to cosplay. Because let us remember, folks, that 90% of anime are about Japanese people. Most anime characters, most anime characters are Japanese, and some people can get away with it. Definitely, I mean, anybody who's Japanese can definitely dress up if that matter. But let me be honest here. I'm an Armenian Iranian dude from New England. Not even Hitalia has an option for me. Okay, it wouldn't work. There's no way I could ever cosplay if ethnicity mattered. So, with that in mind, let's move on to the next point. And this is also a big contention in the community, unfortunately. Gender does not matter when you're cosplaying. And this is a bit more egregious, unfortunately, because I feel like there's some very deep-seated problems with this. On the internet, there's a thing that exists called Rule 63, which states for every fictional character, there exists a counterpart of the opposite gender. Fan art like this is often lauded as high art. It is, oh, what a groundbreaking thing. Ooh, wow. Ryu as a girl, who could ever imagine the controversy? But for some reason, people get freaked out when that art steps off the page, so to speak, in the form of cosplay. This is equally so when this switches female to male. If I could smack these people on the head with a newspaper, I would.
What about a frying pan?
What? What about what?
What about a frying pan?
A frying pan? Have you seen a frying pan cosplay?
No.
I would love to see someone's dedication to the fine, cold, forged, iron frying pan. There was 32 volumes of manga dedicated to the journey of that frying pan, let me tell you. One of the best shonen fighting manga I've ever read. Oh, man. But I mean, honestly, if I could smack those people on the nose with the newspaper, I would. Why is this an issue? If you're fine with a girl cosplaying as Edward Elric, you should have no problem with a guy cosplaying as Chi from Chobits. Or Major Kusanagi from Ghost in the Shell. Your hypocrisy, people, is stupid. So let's move along. Your physique does not matter when cosplaying. This is perhaps one of the most infuriating of them, and unfortunately it seems that it is largely my gender that is guilty of this. You see this? No, I mean, come on. Men are the ones that are generally guilty for making these kind of stupid remarks. It's unfortunate, but it's true. You see this a lot when, for example, a woman is cosplaying as a character that she herself is physically different from. And this is not unlikely. After all, female characters in anime are hyper-idealized versions. They have physiques that are sometimes purely impossible for real people to meet. I mean, you'd have to remove ribs or something. And this brings me down to this wonderful quote by my friend Katie here. Let me kind of try to give you a little bit of a... Here you go. Let's see if that is not going to focus at all.
There you go.
Well, that's Katie Edwards, that blurry image on the screen there. She's a cosplayer extraordinaire, and this is what she has to say on this topic. She says that being the same body type of a character you're playing helps to add to the effect, but it isn't necessary. We aren't cartoons, and basically no one has cartoon proportions. What's important is to strategically edit and fit the costume so that it looks good on the person wearing it. This doesn't just apply to fat versus skinny. This applies to stuff like being long-waisted or short-waisted as well. There are plenty of costumes that need to have proportions adjusted to look good on anyone, despite body type. One strong example of this is Madoka from, this is still her quote, I can never pronounce this right. Puella Magi Madoka Magica? Yeah? Okay. I've not watched that show.
You sure?
So I hear. Okay. Be quiet or I shall make you all sign a contract. Now shush. Her bodice has a drop waist that elongates her torso. Shortening the bodice without adjusting the rest of the details makes the visual proportions very wonky. Edit for your shape, and it won't particularly matter what your shape actually is. So cosplayers, there are some things you should realize here. Number one, cosplaying is a commitment. You need to be really cognizant of the fact that if you decide you're going to cosplay as one of those big robot units from Warhammer or something, you're going to be in a big heavy suit for as long as you want to wear that cosplay. And if you don't have any clothes with you to change into, that may be a problem for you. Similarly, if you decide to cosplay as, I don't know, some bride or something, or character with a long train on their dress, you're going to have to risk getting that stepped on. And it's a problem, but you need to be understanding of that. Number two, you need to be careful about the size of it. It's going to be very cumbersome. You're going to have to wait in the hallways for groups of people to clear if you want to make it through. You need to be understanding of the fact that, yes, you are the one doing the different thing, and you may have to cede to other people's needs to travel around. You need to be careful of the weight of the cosplay, because however heavy the cosplay is, you're going to be carrying it. I would not want to be the person who has to check a giant costume into the bag check. If the bigger the costume, the more work you've put into it, and I wouldn't risk handing off that kind of a project to anyone else. And you need to be aware of your surroundings. If you're going to the dealer's room and you've got a cosplay with big spikes coming off of the shoulders, you're going to want to be understanding of the fact that, give the artist alley table some clearance, give the dealer's booths some clearance. You don't want to be knocking stuff off of shelves and tables and stuff. Okay. So, cosplayers also, cosplaying is not recommended for extremely shy people. Yes, I understand that cosplaying isn't, for a lot of people, isn't about, getting attention. It's about expressing yourself artistically and in a constructive way. But you're gonna get attention. And so if you're extremely shy or don't like your picture taken, I'm not saying people should take your picture without your consent, but you need to be understanding people that are going to approach you if your costume catches their eye and they like it. So it's not recommended for shy people. It is absolutely okay, however, to refuse pictures being taken of you. You have a right to control your image. The images of yourself. And if you don't want a person to take a picture of you, that is 100% cool, okay? If you're cosplaying with a weapon, obey the weapons policy. Go get whatever it is you've brought peace checked. It doesn't matter if it's a Nerf gun that hasn't worked since 1997. Go get it peace checked. How many of you here were born after 1997? Oh, thank God. Okay. You'll see that look of panic in my face every once in a while when I get a sort of realization, oh, geez, am I old? And also, Anime Expo is ostensibly a family event, so, you may want to exercise some of that. You may want to implement that in your exercising of judgment when deciding what your cosplay is. Perhaps a really tight spandex bodysuit with lots of holes all over it is not the best cosplay. You don't want to... there's going to be kids around. Let's remember that. Let's see, anything else? Nope, nothing here. Okay, so here's some rules for interacting with cosplayers, because it's just as important to understand how to interact with cosplayers as it is to and understand how to be a cosplayer. Always ask permission. What you want to do is, if you want to take pictures, ask permission. If you'd like to examine their cosplay, ask permission. Anything, just ask permission. You are not entitled to anything when it comes to somebody else, so just ask, always. And remember that cosplayers, number one, they are people too. They are not your personal dolls, they are not exhibitions, they're not people being paid to walk around in these cosplays for your personal enjoyment. They're people here trying to have a good old time. And they can refuse your question. They can refuse your request for a picture. No questions asked. No reason required. And if they say no, that does not mean go 50 feet away, use your telephoto zoom lens, and take a picture anyways. It's just, you need to be a basic human being about these sorts of things. And don't stalk them. If you see a cosplay you really like, it is not your mission to follow them around at all times. It's really creepy. So, let's, actually, you know what, what's our time? I don't have a clock on me at the moment.
It's 1:19.
1:19, so that gives us, what, a half hour-ish?
No, you got to 1:45.
Oh, sweet. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of an exercise here. Let's see. I need a cosplayer who would like to volunteer here. Let's get Fiona the human. And we need somebody else as well. Let's get L. That's the one. I'm just picking like what seems to stand out, okay? So why don't you guys, because I love Death Note and I love Adventure Time, so those two things are really coming to mind. At least I used to love Death Note. I went to the US premiere here. And we need one more person to, I'll hold my camera. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to ask her if you can, I want you to approach her and ask her if you can take a picture. Okay, see, that's how it works. Can I take a picture? Sure. So that works, okay? Don't worry about it. It's not. I did this presentation last year. I have a really good video of it. It's online. I'm not putting a video where I have to use a desktop projector thing. It's just, no. No, okay, see, that's how it works. Okay, so now I'm going to play the creepy guy in this case. I'm going to breathe with my mouth open and... Can I take your picture? Okay. Click, 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 click. No. Just, no. Don't be that guy. You know that guy. Everybody knows that guy. Don't be that guy. Okay? I had that guy come to a bunch of my panels at Anime Los Angeles. Ugh, that guy. So, this is also true if you want to examine a person's cosplay. Say there is like some costume with like intricate lace work or something, and you are all about lace work. You're like, man, lace work, hell yeah. And you want to be like, yeah, you guys can sit down, thanks. You want to be like, yeah, lace work, that's awesome. That is the most awesomest thing. I'm all about lace work, lace everything, lace like seat covers on my car or something. It's just like lace everything. You do not touch them without asking, because some people have really delicate cosplay. The gloves on my Schwarzwald cosplay were held together with hot glue, and it was not really holding that much. So you do want to be very careful when it comes to cosplays like that. Now, we're going to talk a little about basic convention etiquette. Now, I said at the beginning of the panel that sometimes people forget how to be basic human beings, and this is what I was mostly referring to. It seems that some people just leave all their manners and such at home when they come to conventions, and that simply will not do. You have to remember that when you come to a convention, you need to still bring your manners with you. This may sometimes feel like a little bubble in reality where, suddenly all of your wonderful passions and hobbies have come to fruition and you can see all these wonderful cosplays and stuff, but sometimes you just gotta ask yourself, if Mr. Rogers saw you acting the way you are, would he think that you were the person that he thought you could be?
Absolutely not.
You need to remember all that. You need to remember to be polite, saying please, saying thank you, excuse me, holding the door for those behind you. Here are some ways you can be an example of a considerate convention goer. Number one, do not glomp. Don't go on. I'm telling this for your own good. Now, if you are not familiar with the term, a glomp is a sort of running tackle hug. It's like picture like a football player tackling another, going, "Oh my God, you're so cool!" Now imagine that happening without the padding. The ideal is to sort of have somebody demonstrate this, but every time I even think about it, I feel like there's a convention staffer just sort of shuddering and he doesn't know why. Insurance is a very important thing. Now, normally it's the sexy male cosplayers or the celebrities like, I don't know, Vic Mignogna or something that sort of get this. But I have actually experienced the glomp a couple of times. Year before last, I did a panel about the sound design of My Little Pony, and these 3 girls came on stage and they asked if they could hug me. I'm like, okay, I guess, whatever, fine. They gave me a hug, they left. It was like, what the hell was all that about? Next day, I'm hanging out with some friends of mine on the near the escalators over by the West Lobby or whatever, over there by where they have the bag check. And suddenly, I feel the weight of 3 teenage girls on my back. And I just get certain, now I'm a big guy, so I didn't get knocked over. I was just sort of like, whoa. That is not something you want to experience. It is like, what the hell happened? I was clunked, and it was weird. Now, being the reasonable adult that I pretend to be, I reminded them that they really ought not do that. Why? Well, because it's assault. Yeah, I mean, any unwanted physical contact could be construed as assault, and you could get your butt hauled out by convention security. And let me tell you, that would not make for a very pleasant con-going experience. Whenever the police are involved, you generally don't, it's not a good thing, especially if it's you that they're coming to talk to. You don't want to do that, it's not fun. And especially if a person has back problems or something, they could get seriously injured. It's not a good thing. Number 2, treat the staff with respect. Nay, reverence. As I said earlier, staff members are giving their time to work the convention. If a staff member tells you to do or to not do something, listen to them. 9 times out of 10, they're going to try and keep you and your friends safe and out of trouble. Even if you disagree with them or you feel like they are misunderstanding you or the situation, or even if you think that they may just be jerks, don't start yelling at them. Channel your inner Mr. Rogers and Bob Ross or whoever your whatever guru of calm is or whatever. Think calm and happiness. Think peace and serenity and goodwill towards all the convention staffers. Do all that. Just try not to do that, and then con staffers will try to keep you from acting, dangerously. And if you see somebody else acting dangerously or, creating a potential risk to the safety of other congoers, dude, just go report them. Tell the staffer, tell them, hey, look, I'm seeing this person, he's had maybe 1 too many Red Bulls, he's trying to run on a wall, and he's not being very successful at it. Maybe can you guys do something about it? He looks like he's going to get hurt. There's nothing wrong with that. You are being a cool person by doing that, okay? Let's see. Next. Stupid thing here. Okay. Do not touch the glass. Do not touch the glass in the dealer's room. In the dealer's hall, you will find tons of glass cases filled with lots of awesome goodies. That, 1.5-foot tall Robotech model you've been wanting. Oh man, it's right there. You can almost touch it. Don't touch the glass. Dealers use these cases to showcase their finest of wares, and nothing makes their finest of wares look not so fine than a bunch of fingerprints all over the nice shiny glass. It turns an item that says something like, buy me, I am what you want to. Hey, Alberta, come and get this, it's very good. You want some of these? I'm Armenian, so I can do that. Catch my drift? If you want to see something in a glass case, just ask the dealer. Say, hey, that looks really cool. I'd like to get a closer look at it. Would you mind bringing it out of the glass? Most of the time they'll say yes. If they don't, that's okay too. It is probably a very expensive item. They don't want it broken by some random schmo. Speaking of being in the exhibition hall over there, respect an artist's booth. The Artist Alley is a very interesting place. It is a place where budding entrepreneurs and artists alike try to bring both sides of themselves into the real world and try to make some money off of what they are passionate about. While you're in there, you want to be respectful of that. They're trying to make money, so if you are, if you're in there, don't put your stuff on their tables without asking. You don't want to wreck that print that could be like the $1.50 they need to break even here at Anime Expo. Don't block their booth if you're not really serious about buying anything there. They're trying to make money. And yeah, some of us may feel that, mixing art with the, whatever, let's see, the perversion of making money about art, and art should be pure, but yeah, people gotta make a living. And for some of them, God bless them, that's how they do it. They make a living going to artist alleys and selling their stuff. If you're on a tight budget and you're looking at their work and you think you want to buy it, but you're not sure, there's nothing wrong with picking up their piece, looking at it, and then going around to look at the other stuff in the convention. Look, how many of you basically went bankrupt with the Steam sale last week?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so a lot of us have problems with holding on to cash when it comes to video games and art and stuff like that. So it's perfectly okay to prioritize. You need to just sort of keep in mind that their booth is a space that they need to use. It's their way they can advertise. So try not to block it or anything like that, or disrespect their stuff. If you really like a booth, take a picture of it with your phone or something. That way you'll remember it, and you can always go back later on in the convention and go buy what you want from there. Now, there was a bit of guest etiquette that, this slide was a bit of a last edition, though. What difference does it make to you? You can't see the slide anyways. Bit of a last edition. About a week ago, Kyle Hebert, a voice actor who I am sure you have heard his work before, wrote a short piece about etiquette when it comes to dealing with guests. It was really good, so I stole it. But I'm giving him credit so that you can thank him for his great pearls of wisdom later on when you see him out and about in the convention. So if you're chatting with a guest at a signing, or I'm reading directly from what he wrote here. If you're chatting with a guest at a signing, out and about in the hallways, be courteous and know that the other person has many others to see and places to be. Do not take it personally when the guest needs to move on. This is again the whole stalking thing I was telling you about earlier. Don't be that guy. Don't badger guests to spend time with you, watch your YouTube channel, or listen to your demo, etc., etc. Dropping off a business card is just fine. Just keep it casual. They're people too. Don't follow or hover unless the guest has specifically asked you to tag along. Please hold all questions until the end of the presentation. Thank you. Like I said, I'll happily do a Q&A at the end, but just hold on to it. I want to make sure that there's enough time to do the whole presentation. Then I'll happily answer all your questions. We're nearing the end anyways. So, stalking, no matter how harmless the intent, can be perceived as a threat or negatively. Do not invite yourself along to outings with a guest unless you're personally told that you're welcome to join them. If a guy said, let's use Kyle Hebert as an example. If Kyle says that, in sort of casual conversation, all right, yeah, guys, I gotta go. I'm gonna go meet with my girlfriend over at Yard House. We're gonna have some drinks. It's gonna be awesome. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. Don't be like, hey, Kyle, wait for me. I'm coming too. This is gonna be great. I get to hang out with you. It's gonna be awesome. Yeah, no, don't do that, because it's just gonna be weird. I mean, even if you heard about an event, unless they tell you that, hey, yeah, you can come, don't do that. I mean, how would you like? Everybody hates it. Who here knows what the phrase third wheel means? So periodically I have to check, because I realize that as I'm walking through the hallways, I'm very steadily growing away in age from the median age of the convention. So sometimes I have to check. Don't be a creepy person. Don't be that guy. Which is going to be my catchphrase for the convention here. Don't be that guy. I should make t-shirts. If you want, instead, you can feel free to be this guy. This is Churba. He is my co-host of my podcast, Friday Night Party Line. He is a fairly awesome individual. And before I give you my next etiquette tip, I'm going to tell you what he said. Let me just make a note that he is also Australian and thus has to face death on a daily basis. In addition, he's a martial artist and former member of the Australian military. So when I asked him, what should I tell these people as an etiquette tip to not fail at being in a convention? And he said this: if you're going to take photos with and or for people, do not do it in an expletive thoroughfare, or I will burn the heart right out of you. And he does have a point. Crowding the hallways for pictures or dancing or for any other reason for that matter is obnoxious. Those 400-foot-long conga lines that I was telling you about earlier do more damage to the flow of people in the halls than if all of AKB 48 decide to enter the convention at once. And I don't know if you know, but there are more than 48 in AKB 48. There's like 88 members or something. Close to the last topic, we're going to deal with how to deal with emergencies. There we go. Just sort of, I hate this touch screen sometimes. I love it other times, but I hate it sometimes. This is one of those times where I hate it. Okay, so what qualifies as an emergency? Losing a valuable item. And by losing a valuable item, I do not mean like that $15 plushie you bought at the exposition hall. I mean like, oh, where's my wallet? Where's my bag with all my wonderful equipment in it? Where is all that business? That constitutes an emergency. Incurring a serious injury also counts as an emergency. Seeing somebody else get seriously injured, an emergency. A potential fight is
Emergency.
Oh, they learn. I love it. And other things like that. Things that would generally either involve police and or ambulatory services. So, what does not qualify? Losing your shoes. It's happened. I don't know how. Like, oh wow, my shoes are gone. How did that happen? No, I'm not kidding. That's a direct quote. I've seen this happen. It's ridiculous. Got it, guys. Thank you. Breaking your own stuff due to stupidity. Any of this stuff is generally bad. Or non-injury inducing accidents. If you're just sort of stub your toe and you're going, not really something you should call ambulatory services about. If like 3 hours later it starts swelling and turning purple, then yeah. So here's the general procedure. Number 1, do not panic. Panicking is the worst thing you can do ever. Okay? It's absolutely terrible. Number 2, explain your situation to a staff member. They don't know what to do, they will find somebody who does. Number 3, do what they tell you to do. What is the point of asking people what to do if you're not going to listen? Here's the advanced procedure. Ready? Number 1, do not panic. Number 2, do the obvious due diligence. If you've lost your wallet, then what you should do is, oh gee, where was the last place I put it? Where was the last place I had it out? Oh yeah, it was at that table in the artist alley. Did I ever pick it up after putting it down on the table? That's the first due diligence. If that doesn't solve your problem, then explain your situation to a staff member. Now, obviously, in the case of injury, if you've just tumbled down the escalators for whatever reason, don't do any due diligence, don't do anything, don't move. Just stay there, right there. Number 3, get someone to explain your situation to a staff member if you've just fallen off the escalators. And number 4, do what they tell you to do. Again, what's the point of asking for help if you're not going to take it? Now, what do you do if you lose your wallet or purse? Number 1, this is some sample examples we're going to go through here. Number 1 is?
Don't panic.
Very good. This is nothing like the twig of 93. Has anyone here not seen Bug's Life? Okay, good. Another one of those things. Number 2, think about your recent activities. I went to the artist alley table. Number 3, retrace your steps logically. If the last place you had your wallet out was the artist alley, don't go to the concert. Number 4, go to ConOps and explain the situation. I have lost my wallet. I do not know where it is. I require your assistance in finding it. Number 5, check the convention center lost and found. The convention center lost and found is distinct from the conventions lost and found. They're 2 different things. That's why there's convention staff and there's LACC staff. 2 different groups of people working in conjunction, but still 2 different groups of people. Number 6, report your card stolen. If you're underage or if you have somebody else that knows your card information, call them as quickly as possible and tell them, hey, look, my credit cards are gone, my wallet's missing, I need you to call up Capital One or whatever, report it stolen. If you can't do that right away, it's not a big deal. You are not responsible for any charges incurred in the process of fraud. And then after the convention, go replace your driver's license or state ID or whatever you've got. Let's see, we only have 10 minutes left. What happens if you accidentally injure yourself? Number one.
Don't panic.
If I can drill anything into your head, it's going to be that. Do not panic. Number two, evaluate if you can and or should move. If you cannot feel your legs, don't try to move them. Explain the situation to the nearest staff member. Yelling, help, or I have just broken both my legs often helps. And then follow the directions, which if you are seriously injured, 9 times out of 10 will be, do not move. We are calling the ambulance. And finally, some final tips. If you do not need to go to first of all, you do not need to go to the concerts / autographs and signing. These slides are useless for you to look at. Number two, go to the keynote once and never again. Opening ceremony is the same thing pretty much every year with very slight variations. Once, never again. Number three, make your plans in sand. Do not assume the convention schedule that you're going to fulfill everything you want to go and see in there. You will get stuck behind the 400-foot conga line. You will be prevented because a panel has gone long, in this case not. Number three, go with the group, but don't be afraid to leave them. You can go and explore other things. Having friends is good, but you can explore. Be safe about making friends at cons. You can ask that new person you met for their email address, but if they ask you for your phone number, my advice is don't give it to them. Do not shout out things during lectures and panels. It's okay. The only thing is it throws off the speaker's flow. In this case, my flow was thrown out because I have to use my laptop as a seesaw on this thing. Do not buy swords, airsoft, other weapons in the dealer's room unless you're prepared to go take them to your car immediately. In the dealer's room, there is no such thing as a limited item under $200. These companies make their money out of the quantities, massive quantities, and the way they can scale down their costs on it. Take lots of pictures because you want to make lots of memories here. Go watch animes at some of the rooms, but I have a note of advice. If you are 18 plus and you walk into a room for an 18 plus anime and everybody's laughing, that's okay. If everybody is deadly silent, go to another room. And finally, go to my panels. My name is Victor Frost. Tomorrow at 12:30, I'm doing a My Little Pony sound design panel. My Little Pony sound is magic. If you're into My Little Pony, you should definitely go and check it out. My actual day job is a professional audio engineer, so that is where I lend my expertise into it. My professional expertise anyways. And then finally at 7:45 p.m. on Saturdays. So you want to make an audio drama where I walk the entire audience step by step in the process of making a real audio drama. My name is Victor Frost. Good afternoon! And have a great convention, for God's